Now, trade in any part of the world is vital for economic development. Right here in Ghana, it's often said that we import more than we export, resulting in a trade deficit, and that's no good news because of the implications it has. But have we ever recorded a surplus where were we exporting more than importing? Rather, we are going to find out tonight. Philip Namfori joins me in the studio with some education. Philip, that's because we have got some information from the Bank of Ghana, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so first, let me just start off. What is this trade deficit, trade surplus? It all comes under balance of payments. Balance of payments is a measurement of a country's transactions with the external world. So Ghana's transactions with people in Africa, with countries in Europe, US, etc. So that's balance of payments. Under balance of payments, we have current account, capital account. Current account is where we have our trade balance. That's the visible goods, what we see, our exports and our imports. So gold, cocoa, oil, exports come under our balance of trade, under current account, which is part of balance of payments. So yeah, that's a summary of it.
So how are the numbers looking at like? I understand that we've got the numbers for the first quarter of this year.
Okay, so I put together from 2016 right on to 2018. And if you look at it as it's been displayed there, you see that on the left-hand side, you see 2016, 2017, 2018, and it's in US dollars. This data from the Bank of Ghana's statistical bulletin, quarterly statistical bulletin. So if you look at our exports, in total, from 2016 to 2018, it's been going up from $11 billion right up to $14 billion. If you look at the components of each, so cocoa beans and products, you realize that in 2018, we're doing about $2 billion. You look at gold, about $5 billion. Look at timber and timber products, about 221 million. Crude oil, 4 billion, and other exports, 2 billion. Now, if you look at the range of the numbers, you see that crude oil has gone up from 1 billion in 2016 to 3 billion in 2017, and it jumps to 4 billion. And you look at gold also has gone up from 4 billion in 2016 to about 5 billion in 2017, and to about 5.4 billion. It's even come down in 2018. So it just gives you a picture of what we are sending out there, our main export items, cocoa, gold, oil, timber, and we have other exports. And if you look at the ones that are dominating, you see cocoa dominating, you see crude oil dominating, and you see gold dominating. Now look at our imports, non-oil imports. In 2018, about 10 billion of that, you understand? Okay. But if you look at the imports for 2018, total 13 billion. And you look at the exports for 2018, that's 14 billion. You realize that we've taken more out than we brought in. So that will result in a trade surplus. Some are saying surplus, some are saying surplus, yeah. But it's a trade surplus. If we're bringing in more than we're taking out, then we have a trade deficit.
All right.
That's it. That's basically it.
And so this actually looks good. I'm sure people watching I've seen so many numbers, and so they're asking, so what? What does it mean then if we are exporting more than we are importing? How is that helping our economy?
Well, let's connect with the most easy one, the foreign currency supplies. We get enough into the country. When we are taking more out, well, obviously we're going to sell these and we're going to generate foreign currency. Okay. But if we're going to be bringing more in than we're taking more out, obviously then we have a deficit of foreign currency.
But I should also note the first quarter of the month, of the year, rather, was when we're having struggles with the cedi.
That's one was attributable to the restriction the IMF placed on our use of our foreign currency. So we have to keep our reserves to a certain level. But since 2017, as you can see from the data, we've been doing well with our exports vis-a-vis our imports. So we've been exporting more than we've been importing, particularly on the back of oil and a marginal increase in gold. However, if we don't sustain this, we'll be back to the years of 2016, where you can see that we exported 11 billion, but we brought in imports 12 billion. So by all means, there will be a deficit somewhere there.
So we've seen the increase from 2017, you say. And so what would you say to people who are asking, so why are we not seeing this translate in our pockets? I mean,
no, I like this question because you see, it takes time for things to transmit from the macro side, the bigger side of the economy, to our pockets. But if we are exporting more than we are importing, one thing, government doesn't have to finance a deficit. And how do they finance the deficits? By borrowing either internally, with its implications on crowding out, or externally, with its implications on foreign debt. So if we have more foreign currency reserves than we actually take out, then that's all well and good. And then there's no rush for foreign currency as we see in our market.
And how significant is 1.3%? Is that what it is? Because that's what I was reading, that it's just increased by 1.3%.
I'm sure that's the first quarter.
Yeah.
This one is for 3 financial years.
Yeah.
It's well and good though. But you see, they are coming from commodities. And what happens when there's a slump? Right now we see the trade war going on. If any of these countries, particularly China, experiences a drop in demand, what happens to our exports? Like we saw in 2015, 2016, where the value of exports, gold, cocoa, oil, all went down, and Ghana was reeling from this, and we had to go to the IMF and all that. So, yes, commodities good, brings in money, but at the same time, stabs us when there's a problem.
All right, Philip Namfo will be coming later tonight with PM Express. What are you discussing tonight?
Yes, we'll be having the CEO of the Private Enterprise Federation, Nana Osebinsu, referring to all of us. We'll be discussing finance, forex, and free trade. Interesting stuff. You should stay tuned, 9 p.m.
And he's excited about it, so do join Philip Namfo at 9 o'clock for PM Express. Thanks very much, Philip, for the insight into those figures we have received from the Bank of Ghana on our trading figures for the first quarter of this year.